Hi, so Ileana the Star Traveler, and we're having a discussion today about the SSP, the Secret Space Programs, our experiences, memory recalls, and whatever we will be sharing here in this video diary, just to see what we can figure out and answer questions. In one of my talks, the being that I mentioned, he's half reptilian and half insectoid. He has like an oval face, more like elongated oval green face with black eyes, big black eyes. And he wears a blackish gray suit, also with green lights and red lights on the joints. And he's tall. He's about 10, 12 feet tall. He told me his name is Zagor and that he's a basically a reptilian insectoid hybrid ambassador to the Dark Fleet, to the human-run Dark Fleet. So that's what he told me, and he's like ambassador liaison from the reptilians to the Dark Fleet, to the human assets in the Dark Fleet. And basically, he took me on a tour of a bunch of different cities that the Dark Fleet has outside of our solar system. So that was basically, he was kind of like my tour guide in places that we could go, and there was places we couldn't go. So he had access to certain locations that he'd show me. And he was there just to make sure that I didn't wander off and I didn't go to places that I shouldn't. So that was kind of his role in my experiences. I wouldn't call it abduction experiences because I was quite curious to see the Dark Fleet cities. So I think it was kind of more of a willing experience somewhat for me. But I definitely, and Zagor told me that he's not quite a willing ambassador himself. It's sort of karmic for him that he has ties with the reptilians, but he's not happy in that role that he's in as being an ambassador to the Dark Fleet or even working with the reptilians. Zagor wears a cybernetic augmented suit that can interact with different types of technology. So, and Zagor's nose is also long and elongated. So he has like a slim nose, and I wouldn't say he's muscular. So he has elegant features, I would say, in body type. It's a muscular armor suit, the cybernetic suit. And he's as well kind of like, I wouldn't say on the slim side, but not on the muscular side either. So insectoid features are quite obvious as well for him. Well, I never worked for Kruger. I worked for Monarch Solutions, but they're similar. And I mean, they have different missions tied to Earth Alliance, tied to some of the SSP related stuff. I don't really think of them as SSP though. I think of them as more Earth-based kind of a program that's more Earth involvement in Earth matters than off-world matters, but I know that they have off-world stuff as well. So for me, I think of them as more like the prep programs for the SSP off-world stuff as preparation. I think there are a lot of different battles going on right now because this is the time to save the planet. This is the time to take Earth back. So I think there is the involvement in Kruger sends its agents out off-world as well. I know that, and so does Monarch Solutions. As long as it's in the planet's favor, they'll send it out, the agents. So I remember being on Mars in the interplanetary corporate conglomerate Mars Bases, and they're very military-like. They design the suits, the various armor suits and the stuff. They do cybernetic labs. They have that, so they build humanoid cyborgs. So and I was never in the military. I'm just a civilian, but I have a fascination with firearms and swords and throwing knives. Like, I naturally know how to use those things. So for me, it's like weapons, motorcycles, going fast. That's just normal for me. So it's like, because you don't have to be in the military to be taken into these programs as an asset. I've had memory recalls of the cybernetic suits, the cybernetic labs, the augmented humans, the various ETs. So it's very normal at this point because it's 3 years of memory recall. So and it's just processing that. And on some point you sort of want to do this, and at some point you sort of don't want to do this because there are a lot of missions. There's a lot of it. Oh, it is real. It's very much real. It happens in real time to your alter self, or I don't know if they cloned you or not, or what they did, because sometimes they could take out your soul and put it in a clone body, and the clone functions perfectly well because it's your soul in it. Or they put you into somebody else's body, your soul as well, and you do a mission that way. Or they put you into a cyborg, your soul into a cyborg. Or you have different alters of yourself that have been it's not cloning, but it's modified genetics as well. They make an alter of you. It's not a clone, but it's something quite different. I don't know how to explain the mechanics of that. There's so many ways they could take you and put you as an asset, or they could just take you as you and use you as an asset. So there's so many variables in this for how they take you. I don't want to say use you because you're quite aware of it. Part of the figuring it out process, because I didn't know for 2 years that it was ICC that I worked for. I just remembered intense recall of Mars and space platform stations and bases on Mars. I'm like, who are these groups? And then I heard the term interplanetary corporate conglomerate on the internet, and I'm like, oh, well, that explains that, because it's military style and it's on Mars, and they have a lot of Earth corporations and also Mars bases. And I also remembered a group called the Time Corporations. So they do time travel. That's how the 40 and back, the 60 and back, even the 20 and back. How do they age regress you? There has to be quantum leap time travel component in the regression cycle of being in these holographic medical pods or in the regeneration tanks. How do they take you back to that 0 point of 15 or whatever when they took you as an asset? There has to be a time component, time travel. They do make us do a lot of different jobs. I remember 14, 16 different jobs over 60 years. So it's normal. It's normal to be either negotiating or to be a soldier, to be out on a mission, consistent with what I remember as well. There's this new term, the mercenary army program, that's been used. What's more easier to say? It's the secret space program, because it's a secret. It's a space program and it's off-world. It is on Earth too, so I think it deserves some kind of a interesting title that represents both off-world and home missions here. I don't consider myself a mercenary, so I can't really vibe with the mercenary army program label, but they are mercenaries, some of them, in how the tactics and how they use us. In the not so good groups, because they're not, like, I can't agree it's all evil, all ATs are evil, there's no good ones. That's not true either. There are good ones and there's bad ones and there's something in between. So yeah, just that point, because we've all had nice regression sessions with Carl and with our higher selves. And Carl, I appreciate Carl Mollison. He's done quite a lot for all of us, I think. Because I've recalled, like, he said, my higher self through him said that I had been trained as an assassin in these programs. And that there's ET involvement in all of these programs, that they have an agenda for us. It's not for our highest good. And I agree with that. It's just how we go about it and present ourselves to the world that's important, that we have integrity and respect for all of the SSP experiencers and survivors and vets in who come out with these, who share their experiences. That's the most important part to me in all of this. There's a karmic obligation on the secret space program's part. They can use you, right, for 60 or back, take you whatever, but they also have to let you live your normal human life. It's part of the karmic obligation. They cannot just use you and abuse you and leave you in the program. They are obligated to give you a sense of a life back on Earth. Because you were born a human in a human body to live a human life, no matter if you've had alien incarnations or what you remember. At the end of it all, in the contract, it states that they must return you back to Earth. Even if they, intermittently take you on missions again, you have to be back as a normal human. You have to seem human again. Because they can't just kill you after the program is over, after whatever faction took you. They can't just kill you and that's it. You have to have a human life. It's part of the contract when you, and not, sign up for, or I don't remember signing a contract, but me neither. Yeah, I don't have paperwork. All I have is a bunch of memories and weird visitations. Like, I have craft flying over my house once in a while, and I've taken the weird pictures of it. So there's the visitation part and the abduction part and all of that. But the obligation is they must return us back for our human life cycle, even if they take us in between on missions after they've discharged us from whatever factions we were in. They're not obligated, though, to return us in one piece. So we could have a bunch of diseases, neurological problems, PTSD. They're not obligated to fix any of those things that, the trauma and the pain, whatever. You're back. You're decently decent in who you are, right? You're not totally broken. So that's the only thing they're obligated to do, is to return you on Earth when your, term is up. But they can take you again. And it's not just the programs, or the factions, it's also the ET abductions and the ET interactions and contacts. Almost always I found, first there's the ET aspect of it, then there's the prep in Kruger Monarch Solutions, then there's the SSP involvement. It's like, it's stages of indoctrination into this stuff. So it's like, it's a long process throughout childhood to adult. And there's the MyLabs. For some it's MyLabs, for some it's ET contact experiences, then Monarch Solution, Kruger, then the SSP. So it's a variant of, it could be a variant of different indoctrination cycles. I think what they try to do when they indoctrinate us, like Monarch Solutions and Kruger, they try to break you down so you don't feel pain anymore. So you're basically impenetrable, because they drowned me in the back of a cabin a couple of times and held me underwater to see how strong I was and to break me that way. So the drowning in water or in chambers seems to be a common theme for Monarch Solutions and Kruger indoctrination into your training before you become a super soldier or an SSP assets. It's just like breaking you down so pain doesn't faze you anymore, or killing somebody in front of you, drowning, whatever works, they'll do. Whatever disassociative technique works, they find the best one and use it on you over and over again. So it seems like a common denominator in all of these things. That's why I ask people, do you have recall memories of being drowned, of being broken in some way, so you don't fear the pain aspect anymore. You're just immune to pain. There's a pain immunity factor. Because I studied Wicca magic, so we studied the history of these rituals and how it's done. It's quite disturbing. I studied the aspects of it, how to do ritual magic, but I prefer like energetic magic to like sacrificing a goat or sacrificing a human. That's a big no-no in natural universal laws. It's against the law of universal law in magic. So but the satanic aspects of it in these societies, they do sacrifice humans and animals and do blood magic to kind of bind you into certain agreements, or even, you know, just getting you to say things to agree to a contractual obligation of energetic binding. So to me, this sounds normal. Again, it's creepy, but it's normal. The thing is, they have the ability to stop time, to flash freeze time, so only you experience that aspect of it. And it happened there in your backyard, but nobody else saw it or heard it. So they with these ritual things, they have the ability to do that, because if you know what magic is and you know how to manipulate energy, you can almost do anything with that. And again, that's normal too. On the Mars basis, they'd have orgies with 3 women and a man, or 2 women and a man, or just 4 women, or whatever. To them, that's like normal behavior to raise energy. In classes, they had, you know, young adults sitting, or even grown-ups sitting in these psionic classes, and the teacher would come and fondle you or say things to you to jack your energy. Like, I've had discussions with Kevin Trammell about those experiences that he's remembered, and I've had memories of things as well similar that they do in the classrooms, the Knights of the Templar, you know, style, that kind of style, except not so good. So the dark aspect of the Knights of the Templar in the robes. Well, it's a possibility, because there's rituals on the Mars basis, I can tell you that. It involves sexual aspects and involves like pain and torture, and if you misbehave, there are certain consequences. So, and sexual abuse is prevalent. Like people tell me, why are you so emotionless in these interviews? Why don't you express emotion? Because when you've seen it and you've been in these programs, you take the emotional aspect out of it and you calmly do the interviews so you don't break down. I've just learned to not let this affect my reality, my human reality right now, to calmly talk to people and to get them to share their stories and what they want to share, and not be biased about it. Just let you explain it, and if I have something to explain, to just do it rationally and calmly without the emotional aspect. It's not that I'm cold and that I'm heartless. It's just you need to have a certain degree of sanity to survive what you're recalling and experiencing. There's a certain portion of resentment and anger for what's been done to you, and even in normal life, like, do you find there's so much weirdness in your normal life aspect just existing? Even in your daily life, they mess with you and interfere with you, and you have the weirdest life ever. It's not like, to you might seem normal, to others like you're just weird, all this weird stuff happens to you constantly, like, so it's like almost buyer beware who your friends are and what people think of you, because it's not normal standard procedure in even the life that you have back here on Earth. And that's what I ask people who, like, I have a lot of people contacting me and saying, I think I'm an SSP experiencer. And then I ask them some questions like, what happens to you in your life? Is there weirdness? Is there certain aspects that happen to you? And when they say from A to B on the list, I'm like, yeah, you're probably an SSP experiencer. I have to be careful in email exchanges to stay neutral in this, because I don't want to influence people. Something happened to me a year and a half ago with a certain individual. So if people ask me, can you corroborate if I'm an SSP experiencer? I cannot. I do not have access to the SSP databases where I could say yay or nay, you've been in the SSP. I don't believe we even have access to that, as certain SSP whistleblowers say they have access to the databases. I don't believe they do. So nobody can tell you vet you whether you were in the SSP or not. I don't agree with that kind of email exchange practices. And people email me asking me, do you recognize me from such and such mission? And I'm like, maybe, but I'm not sure, and I'm not going to say yay or nay either way, because this is your individual experience. It's not my experience per se. So I just how I handle email exchanges with people asking me questions is to do it respectfully and honestly, and to, like, if you don't know, just say you don't know. My stance is I don't want to be used and abused by these factions and these programs, and I try my best to cancel out contracts with them, but stuff still happens. We're human and it breaks down. Even they interfere with us, they brainwash us, mind control. In the beginning, I didn't want to admit that mind control happened to me and that they used me and abused me, but they did, and I'm willing to admit to that now. But before, I'm like, these programs are great. You get technology, you get life extension, you're healthy. Now I'm like, there's consequences to being in these programs, and it's painful. Well, they do train you for teamwork, to be part of a team and to not just be yourself anymore. They train you for teamwork, that's for sure, on the Mars bases. I always worked in a team of 12. So I was told never to have personal interactions with any of my teammates. I could outside of the teammates, and it would have to be on another base. It can't be on the same base. Because it's very military style, where, like, do your work and don't have any personal relationships on the same base or with your teammates and the teamwork that you do. On a different base you can, as long as it's not your superior or anybody that you're reporting to on any projects or whatever you're doing. And do not have any personal relations with the extraterrestrials that are also assigned to you to work with on the base. It's very military like, and I was never in the military, not in the army, not in the military. No service at all, except almost an obsessive compulsive fascination with firearms. And I was like, free will, free choice. If you don't want to be in it, say no to it. Once you truly realize what you were into and what was done to you, it becomes more real, because you understand what these factions are really, what's really going on to you, with you, and who's involved. You're like, well, that's not anymore a fantasy. It could be mind control, it could be implanted memories, but it's still not a fantasy, because even if it's implanted false memories, they were still given to you. So they're part of you now. It's still real, even though if it's fake and implanted, it's still real, because they're a memory of something. Even if it's simulated memory, it's still a memory. You still have it with you, and you carry it, and how do you deal with it? And sometimes these memories are so weird and so out of place, you're like, you question, is there honor, is there integrity? Why would this guy suddenly ask you for a duel to battle you? Like, what's the point of this, and why is he modified? Like, was that a simulation scenario, or did it really happen? Or, like, why do you have this memory and you have to examine it? Is it true? Is it your real memory of your real experience? Or is it something that memory was given to you as an implant memory? It's a fake, but it's still your memory because it was given to you of a simulation. Like, you have to question, why are they training you to do all of this stuff? Why are you doing this? So it's really just sitting down with these memories and really exploring them, writing them down, asking the why of it, and trying to get an answer for it. Sometimes your soul can be put into a different body. So in your real body is stashed somewhere else or doing something else. Like, I know that I have an AT body that's 16 feet tall, that's light blue and has blonde hair. It's 16 feet tall. It's Pleiadian Andromedan hybrid, and it's somewhere else. And I have the energy factor of that body in this body that I'm in. And it's just like, I just smile. I'm like, to me, I know I was born, like, I have memories of ET lifetimes. And I know I'm not, like, I don't even feel completely human anymore. That's the thing. Like, I don't associate with being human with everything that I've remembered. I associate more with the lifetime, the ET lifetime that I remember than the human aspect of being human right now, which can get me in trouble too, because I am human and I'm in this human body for the life that I have and the time that I have here. But the different body aspect and it being somewhere else, your real body being elsewhere, that's quite common too. For me, it's not crazy. It's quite normal because it's just like I've seen weird stuff on ET Craft and these SSP factions. So it's like, I don't think anything you tell me or anybody else tells me based on their experiences will shock me or surprise me at this point, because when you've seen it and done it and been in it, you're like, okay, this is just part of the experience factor. And you're like, okay, just deal with it, understand it, the why, the when, the where, and the how. And just try to either incorporate it, or if you don't want to deal with it, you don't have to. You could just try to live a normal life if that's what you want. And if not, if you want to incorporate it, you can, and then make peace with it. As long as you don't act out like you remember the satanic rituals, as long as you don't do that in real life, like you don't do that to others, you don't have certain urges or needs or whatnot, your soul is safe. As long as you know you're still you're the goodwill Glover who has a healthy life and a healthy perspective on things, your soul is safe. And it is aspects of the soul shards and soul retrieval. I think what you've been doing in the shamanism aspect is soul retrieval, putting back the pieces together and working through the trauma. Well, I mean, the Dark Fleet, there are usually ETs involved with the Dark Fleet and the human assets, so that much I could say for sure. Probably that involvement. And, well, I mean, the ICC has suits that are capable, like when you're wearing that kind of suit, you can become invisible. It has capabilities to penetrate any walls or building structures, make it opaque so you can walk through it, come in and, hi, I'm here now. Let's get to it. So they have that capability like humans could do it. In the SSP programs, factions, ETs can do it. They wear suits like that too. So it can be done, and it could be human or it could be ET related. So that, to me, like, I've had visitors come to my house that were cloaked wearing a suit like that, and I had a military grade baton with 1 million volts of electricity, and I turned it on because I have psychic ability in the visual spectrum. Like, I'm aware of where that being is in that suit, and like, so I turned the baton on, the electricity came on, I'm like pointing it in the general direction of the invisible being in the suit, and I hear suddenly a psychic voice, shit, she has electricity, this will disrupt my energy field and I'll decloak. So, and then it goes away. Yeah, so they don't like the electrical aspect of electricity to be zapped, because that will disrupt their cloaking frequency on the suit for a little bit, and then you'll see them briefly, and then they'll just readjust the cloaking frequency. So next time 1 million volts of electricity won't work on them. It'll have to be 2 million or higher. So they'll just reconfigure the suit to a higher frequency of energy, so you can't decloak them with 1 million volts from a zapper. Yeah, it's like they say the eyes are the portal to the soul. The dream is also the portal to the soul of what really happens to you. Because dream recall is part of reality. It could be a different reality you're experiencing, and memories. Even Your future self could be like giving you clues of the SSP factions and stuff, where you were, what you did, or your past self as well. It gives you breadcrumbs through the dream recall. It sends you specific memories. You yourself are sending yourself these things. Oh yeah, the ability to say no and stop it. That's the best kind of feeling, because sometimes I have uninvited guests off world and like, I don't want to go with you. I don't want to do this. I mean no, and you will not take me. No is no. Sometimes you fall off the bandwagon and it happens to you. I won't say that it hasn't happened to me. I think it has a few times, even though I've done the revocation contracts and all of that. But it's not perfect. It's like this stuff exists and it's real, and it can happen again despite your intentions of saying no. But you have to keep on trying. If you don't want to be in it, don't be in it. Say no. I mean, the higher self knows what plan it made and what you agreed to, because we all agreed to do something here, why we come to this world. I decided not to have children in this world because I didn't want my children to be part of this, whatever this is, the SSPs, the alien abductions, contacts. I mean, and there's sometimes like certain personal relationships don't work out because we are who we are. We experience what we experience. So it's not just us, it phases other people around us, the family, the whatever. I mean, I had the ability to have children, but I had a hysterectomy because of a medical thing. And I was quite relieved. I was like, okay, well, I can't have children physically. I can't be forced into it. They can't do that to me. They can't threaten any children. They can't use that against me. Yeah, you're just more vigilant in what's going on around you or with you because you understand the scope of reality. Your reality is a little different and a little more intense than others, so you're careful with how you live your life and how you handle things. That's perfectly reasonable considering what's going on with you, with me, and with others in this community of the SSP experiencers, the ET abductees, and whatever else goes on out there. So it's like, it's good to be careful. It's just good to do that. Yeah. And it's interesting, the work that we do on Earth, like whatever work you do, does it have any association with your SSP experiences and what you're qualified to do for work? Yeah. For me, I actually ended up doing on Earth the work that I did working for a research library and doing research stuff, same thing that I was doing on Mars. I was in communications and research and putting stuff in databases on the Mars ICC bases. So it's like, it's quite close to what I was doing up there, what I was doing down here, the research work and communications. So I find it ironic. Sometimes people in the day job that they have on Earth is similar to what they did up there in the programs. Not everybody, but for some it's like that. For me, it just happened to be that way. So, I mean, it doesn't define you and who you are and what you do, but sometimes it has correlation. Just like when researchers try to vet people, they ask, well, what job are you doing? What's your health like? Your medical background, your family? Have you disclosed? Have you come out? I find that researchers ask you very specific questions to try to get the answers and piece together. Were you in this SSP or not? I try not to do that, but I do ask some questions because there's a certain configuration that just makes sense if people were in the SSP. Like, have you been drowned? Have you gotten threats? Do you have helicopters by your house? Do you have weird situations in your life? Those are certain markers for outside experiences that just don't fit the normal aspect of human life. And they're often paid to stalk you, just to act weird, and these DoD people are paid to stalk you, to troll you, to follow you around, to make you think you're crazy or weird or whatnot. And it's just part of their standard procedure and operation mode, because they're part of something very, very different than what normal people are used to. I mean, I've never had that happen to me, but I've had ships following me around, especially at night. And I'm like, hi, yeah, I know you're there. Snap, take a picture. It looks like a light ship, or it looks like light photography. But like, where am I going to get a light source at night? Like, to fabricate this stuff? People are like, you're just drawing this in Photoshop. I'm like, no, I'm not. There was this ship. It looks like a light ship. I know it's from a faction of a program. Picture, evidence, taken, photographed, archived, done. Yeah, I know I'm being followed around in the sky. I'm like, that's just normal. Yeah, I'm paranoid enough to have cameras set up outside of my house and monitor who goes past my house. Like, I've done that too. So, because knowing what I know and knowing what I've gone through, it's like, better be safe than sorry. Just common sense. Don't trigger people. Don't get into things you shouldn't be into on the earth plane, and just try to have as normal life as you can. But sometimes that's not possible either, because there's situations and there's factors that just come into it, and it's related to the factions, to the programs, to the ETs. It's just part of this weird life. And I call it happy hour now, where you get off planet and get to do these interesting things. I just say it's an interesting part and scope of my life. It's part and parcel of living in this new paradigm. There's a rational explanation for that. You probably have telekinesis, but it works off planet, because there are dampening fields on Earth that limit our psychic abilities. That's what I found. For me, it's like, it's dang frustrating, because in certain portions when I'm near the beach or I'm outside, I can use my psychic abilities better than when I'm in the house or cooped up in somewhere where there's no fresh air. So it's certain dampening fields on this planet, on Earth, that limit our abilities as 3D human beings from expressing our full abilities. It's limited and dampened. When we're off planet on a mission, boom, our abilities work. It works under stress. If you're in a safety situation, it's triggered. When you're in normal life, it's like, okay, I'm aware that I have these abilities. I can access them when I'm on a mission off planet, or somewhere in a base or facility where like they trigger your abilities, because they could do that too to you. Psychic, psionic, psychic, augmentation, amplification through pain triggers. That's how they do it. And you're like, they build up your psionic abilities that way. They train you to work through the pain, to get past the pain, and it activates your ability like that. It just triggers it, turns it on. The switch is pulled and you're doing it. Yeah, you make yourself less appealing to them. Somehow you just, because we have the ability to modify our energetic fields in our body and our emotions. We have that ability to psionically do that and to make ourselves unappealing to them, literally, that we're not the right ones for this mission or for that, or just don't bother me on this day, I'm not interested, go away. Like, we have that ability to do that, so they'll grab somebody else for what they need, and they'll leave you alone this time, because you're just not making yourself appealing to them. You're just not cooperating in whatever they have planned for you. But you have the right to be curious, and you have the right to figure it out and to ask questions and get the answers. Do you know if you've seen some of my presentations that I do where like I'll do a write-up, right? And then I have pictures beside the write-up with music, and there's this presentation. That's how I do it. Like I do self-hypnosis on myself, and then I write all that down in a document file. Then I open up PowerPoint and I write, like, I type all of it out, and then I put pictures beside it, and then I'll turn it into a video with music and I'll upload it. That's how I share my memory recall. People like, what in the world is this? Like, we don't understand what you're doing. I'm like, that's my memory recall. I can't, like, for me, I find it hard sitting beside a computer and talking about it. Because for me, I get headaches when I'm on the computer all the time. So I have this thing with technology. I don't like sitting on the computer just making videos and talking about it. So now I do the presentations, but what I find people want is for it to be voiced over. So I'll now voice it over so they can actually like listen to it while they're doing whatever work they're doing instead of the music component. Well, at night is when all the action happens, where the good stuff happens. I find memory recall comes easier at night, like it all just floods back in, and I close all the windows and blinds to make sure I'm in a dark place when I'm in bed where it's totally dark, and it just starts the trigger memories, the recalls, or the abduction, or they take the asset at night. It seems to be a common denominator for some of the experiencers. It just happens at night. Or some people go to sleep at like 5 a.m. and they sleep until half of the afternoon because they know they're taken between 2 and 4 or 1 and 3. So there's like a pattern to the abductions or to being picked up by the factions of the SSP. Because sometimes I just don't call it abduction, the SSP. Sometimes you're picked up, sometimes you're abducted. So there's various scenarios in what happens. I've had also sleep patterns that aren't normal. Sometimes I go at 1 to sleep, sometimes at 3, just depending on what's going on with me, my health, and whatever else. So and I've been abducted at night too, or taken on a trip as an asset. I'm lucid in the afternoon better, and at night until 2 a.m. I'm the lucidest I can be. And that's when my best recall happens of what's going on. Everybody's different, and it's for everybody a different circadian rhythm. But I find that I'm not taken during the day. It's nighttime that it happens mostly. I don't see a damn ship during the day. It's everything I see is at night for some reason. The flybys happen at night. So I guess it could be different for everybody. I find, like, when I'm not on social media, I do better. Because I don't like I have a Facebook, but I don't like it. I don't use it much. It's like, because they can get you through electronics. I have Facebook, but I'm just like, Facebook is now a UFO community. Like, it is a UFO community now. It is just like YouTube is full of UFO stuff. It's like, I'm surprised, like 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't even aware of Facebook and YouTube as these communication platforms for a UFO secret space program platform. I'm like, I guess we want to be informed. We want to inform others. We want this out there. So I guess that's why we're on these platforms. I've looked at the sightings that Canada has, Vancouver, Kelowna, and there's a lot of UFO sightings in Canada. And Kevin, I've talked to him, he's like, do you know that Canada has one of the biggest SSP factions in space? I'm like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And I live in Surrey, Canada. Surrey, BC, Canada, right close to Vancouver. So I'm like, there is a Canadian connection here. I had a recent experience where there was a RAF agent that contacted me and told me that the Canadian Royal Air Force is using drone hovercraft and ships in the Arctic as a patrolling basis, and it has something to do with the Royal Air Force and also has to do with the USAF in the US. Because this guy told me he's part Canadian and part American. he said his name is Aaron and that he's a TR-3B pilot. And that he's been watching me for a while. And go look at this article. And I'm like, are you pulling my leg, dude? I was like, biased. He's like, nope, go look at this article. So I go on the internet. I type it in, and there is that article and the drone ships and the hover cars. I'm like, okay. He also mentioned that they supply cargo and piping and stuff to the air bases in the Antarctica. And they're mining diamonds and stuff in the Arctic. That's how they pay for some of these black op projects. That's what he told me. I'm like, okay, Aaron, thanks for the info. Now I'm going to make a video out of it. And he's like, you're more than welcome to do it. That's what I had a psychic conversation to him while his craft was hovering in Kelowna above my house when I was temporarily in Kelowna. So I'm like, and they have that ability, and the waves from the ship itself, it feels like an earthquake. And you're like, and you're the only one that feels it. If you go to the neighbors, they're like, what are you talking about? My house wasn't shaking. It's you, not me. The neighbors have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I'm living with chronic pain of weird symptoms that can't be described because of the nanotech involvement in the reptilian abduction. They screwed up my autoimmune system. Now it's affecting my central nervous system. People are like, how do you have this medical knowledge of genetic testing of what you need to get done? Like, I'm like, I don't know how I understand it here right now. Like, I have zero medical training, but up in the ICC Mars Bases, I was a cybernetic tech, checking body parts for quality check of bones and body tissue and whatnot to make sure it's good A-grade material for the cybernetic augmentation. I'm like, that's how I know medical terminology and what I read and understand in the medical world to get my genetic testing. Like, people are like, you're kooky. I'm like, no. I just get what I need to prove that I don't have somatization disorder. Everybody I talk to who's an SSP experiencer, there's a certain thread or connection with similar experience that's happened to them that kind of ties it in, and that's, yeah, it's happened to me because, like, I didn't know about your drowning at 18 months, and I just said I was drowned. I didn't know what you'd tell me, and when you told me, I'm like, okay, well, that's another connecting thread. It's a thread, it's a fact. It's what they do to entrain you into this faction or a program or whatever. There's never a coincidence when the programs are involved in this. And you're born into the sometimes you're even born into the family you're born into based on a pre-programmed disposition. The LOC, I don't remember a swastika. It didn't look like that. It was a bunch of pod-shaped round buildings put together in corridors. So long extensions and in dome-shaped buildings and offices and tons of levels. I remember that. I mean, and the tattoos, like, I've always wanted a tattoo of a black dragon on my back, but I know it's toxic. It's not good for the skin to have the ink all filled out, right? But tattoos have certain meanings, so whatever somebody has tattooed on themselves is like an energetic connection to them now. It's tied to your body, to your soul, because it's plastered on you somewhere. I wanted that dragon, but I was talked out of it because the black dragon is like a warrior, a symbol of warriorism, and I'm a tough dude, I'm a tough lady, you know, and I was talked out of it, and I'm so glad I had been. I love dragons. Dragons for me are like, I'm a fire sign a little bit, so I'm like, I love dragons, but I don't need that on my back. I can have like a necklace of it. Good enough. The phoenix is actually a military insignia. If you watch one of the first episode with Penny, Kevin, and me, there flashes an image of Kevin with a phoenix on his shirt and a blonde lady walking beside him in a cave in the ICC. He has this phoenix, and if you look at exopolitics.org, what is Michael Salla using right now? A phoenix with the wings, same as what Kevin had on his shirt in the underground cave. We were doing something ICC. And I actually found Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's mock-up images that were done. It looks like Kevin and it looks like me. We're walking in this underground cave. And he has a phoenix on his shirt. Exactly as Michael Salla is using in his logo right now. That JP gave him. It's JP drew this phoenix thing. Because supposedly JP is in contact with aliens in the Air Force. A pseudonym guy named JP. I'm like, well, this is not a coincidence. And the shields, they use shields and swords as certain emblems for the USAFs, for certain USAF emblems. So does the SSP. I'm like, oh, I actually drew one. I actually drew a, what do they call them? It's the emblem, the whatever, the patches. I actually drew one, and it had wings, and it had a crown and some other things on them, like. And then when I plunked it into the internet, it's like those are military type patches. What I drew, and that's an ICC emblem. So it's like, okay, well, this can't be a coincidence. The wings, I know wings are insignia on most army things. It's your pilot wings, and you get tattooed with it. And in the army and the SEALs and the Rangers, it's also certain type of emblems that are tattooed. And I also had a journal where I wrote in a weird language, like totally crazy language. I don't have it anymore. I threw it out because I thought it was just a child scribbling something, so I threw that out. But the weird languages, the writing, totally had that too. It's gone, unfortunately. I don't have it. But I have a obsessive compulsive almost obsession with sigils, magic sigils, and making my own and creating my own symbols. And I studied that in magic though, so I was creating my own sigils like 1.5 years ago. I was a witch in my past lifetime in England, where I was burned for witchcraft and for being a healer. And I buried 2 grimoires somewhere out in England in the forest before they burned me. At the age of 23, stake tied to the pole and burned. It's even on my website. I chronicled it. I wrote a story about it. The story is not on the website, but the lifetime short summary is. So I'm like, I've done sigil work in another lifetime, and I was obsessed with magic because they actually teach magic as esoterics in the Mars ICC. And it's how you use those ritual magic procedures, because you can use that for manifestation of something positive in your life, or you can use it for negative manifestation. Well, ironically, I had a psyop with exactly like what Corey described Blue Avians and Golden Radiance look like. My website was shut down for a copyright complaint, which wasn't true, right at the same time that Corey was hounding me. And I had that Blue Avian experience with the hand gestures and the connecting your mind and the light body to, like, you have to be calm to speak to the Blue Avian. You have to be centered in your light body state. That's what the Blue Avian told me. And I put a video out on it because I completely believed that stupid experience. And then 1 year later, I'm like, that was a psyop. That was not reality. That was not a true contact. So, yeah, it's like telling the difference between a real ET contact experience and a psyop mind control experience. And the whole thing about Gonzalez is actually a program for brainwashing. It's a code name Gonzalez. It's a code name. So in the SSP code name, we need a Gonzalez. That's what they say. We need a Gonzalez, so we need a brainwashing on an agent, please. We need mind control, mind wiping, insertion of false, fake memories. That's a Gonzalez. So it is humorous, and yeah, and it's something that actually came out in a regression session that I did with Christopher Jacobs, who also says he was in the SSP. He says, codename Gonzalez. From what I'm able to pick up from your memory, that's a code name. We need a Gonzalez when we need mind control. Well, I mean, all the past lives that I've had, I've never been somebody important that, like Edgar Casey, or I've been a mermaid, I've been a witch, I've been a priest in Egypt called Calypso, a male. I mean, it's just historic events. I've had a lifetime in Atlantis. I even met a boyfriend that was in Atlantis. I met him in this lifetime. I'm like, oh my, there's an immediate attraction. Where do I know you from? But this was prior to me believing in past lives. So like, I had a deep connection, and I actually worked out with this person what I hadn't in another lifetime. Today, in this lifetime, because he was having insecurities about life matters. So kind of me and him worked it out. And then we went our separate ways because it just wasn't meant to be. So it's like, I get the past lives, I get the connection. I've had pleasant memories, SSP memories of working with technology and in communication. So I can't say it was all negative and bad, because some of it was pleasant. It's you do have pleasant memories and experiences from that time too. I used to buy little models of hovercrafts and stuff as a kid and play with them. Like, I wasn't a normal kid playing with Barbies, and I was playing with Legos, building things, weird things with Legos, cities, weird cities with Legos, and buying these little craft models of different ships, hover cars, what now is a drone hover car. So I can totally relate and remember being out in space and having these weird space fantasies and memories, which aren't fake actually. They're ET experiences. So yeah, so like that's just normal. And well, he told me through Carl, my higher self, that I was an assassin in the SSP. That sort of makes sense because of the weapons, and I don't believe in violence. I mean, if I'm attacked, I will defend myself, and I'm not afraid to kill somebody. I won't feel remorse if I'm attacked, and I don't condone killing. Like, if I'm attacked, and if it's do or die, I'll just do and not die. The other person will end up broken and battered. It's not going to be me. Like, I have the instinct to protect myself, but I won't just beat up somebody and kill somebody just for the giggles of it. It would have to be something like totally life-threatening and protecting oneself from being raped or killed or something like that. That's the only way I could see that training kicking in and you actually killing somebody. That's the only way I see it happening. But and I posted the Carl. I actually take Carl on video with the sessions, and I let people see it. So people can see the quality of it or not. Make your own decision. I really don't care. Yeah, I don't trust channeling anymore. It's just, tried it myself, and I don't want any entity speaking through me or for me or, yeah. Well, I tried it once with one of my ET contacts who says she's a cousin of mine. So she came in, and I didn't give her access to my whole body. It's like psychic connection, talking in my voice. I let that happen as a channeling, but it felt so draining energetically, like connecting to that other being, making sure they're not invading my body, protecting my energy from theirs, letting them speak through this psychic chat. Like me filtering the chat through my own voice through a channel. That was like so draining. After that, I just said, no, that's not happening ever again. I'm like, I just rather teach people how to use crystals and then energize your crystals and let the crystal heal you than through the Reiki, where I'm using my own damn energy to move your blockages. Even though it says that in Reiki it's universal energy, you're not using your own energy, but you are really. You just are. Yeah, because even when you touch people for massage, you get things from those people too. But at least you're not moving their energy. You're just working on their muscles, their chakra points, their meridians, right? You're just pressure points. Clear that chakra, clear that brain. You know, it takes a lot out of you, and it gives you something from the person too. Exactly. They're taking away that attunement. Yeah, and it's you'd only know the insides and outs of positives and negatives of Reiki if you talk to another practitioner about it and what they experienced.